Hello everyone, you're listening to After a Gamers, the podcast where two nerdy Czech guys sit behind a microphone, and it's time we finally talk about pre-orders. I am Matouš.
And I am Michal.
Alright, hello everyone. We're glad we're back after a slightly longer pause, but you know what, let's not do any extra talks. Let's dive deep into the topic of today, and that's pre-orders. Yeah. So, Michal, should you pre-order games?
No.
Alright, thank you everybody so much for listening.
Yeah, give us a like, give us a follow and everything, you know what to do.
And leave a comment if you agree. Bye!
Bye-bye!
Afterward Gamers are Michal Jirásek and Matouš Planianský. If you enjoyed listening to our rambling...
Okay. Obviously we're joking. We're going to dive more into this topic, so...
But hello everyone, really, hello. We're glad you're back with us.
Yeah.
We're glad that you were patiently waiting. We were quite busy during the summer. You know, summer stuff, vacations, and actually there were quite a lot of new game releases, right?
Yeah, this year is packed with a lot of games. A lot of good games, actually.
Yes.
And I think that's why we decided we're going to talk about pre-orders.
Yes, because even though the game looks good, it might not always be a great idea to pre-order.
Yeah, and that's why we're going to talk about it today.
All right, so... Let's have a little bit of like summary what exactly pre-order is for those of you who are not sure. So pre-order is when you pay upfront for a product, in this case a game. Now in the past, pre-orders were actually offered something extra, like you could get the game for a lower price. Or you would get some paid DLC for free with your pre-order for the price of the full game, and other people would have to buy the base price for the game and the price for the DLC. But that was not always the case, and these days pre-orders are mostly a cash grabs by big publishing companies that want to get your money and produce subpar releases, or at least that might be. So I think we should... you know that I am not really a fan of pre-orders.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really a fan of it either. I never pre-ordered the game. I mean, I got few pre-orders from other people, but I never pre-ordered a video game. Just one thing to clarify for those who really don't know. I mean, if you don't know, why are you even here? No, I'm joking. But pre-order, you paying before the game is released, before the final product is released. I think we need to mention that. Like,
as I said, you pay upfront.
Yeah, you pay upfront, but like that could mean anything. Like paying upfront.
Right. Okay. Yeah, you pay before you get the product.
Before the company releases the product, not because you can pay upfront, you know, and the game is already out, but you're paying upfront when you're buying the game. But you pre-ordering game that is not out yet, it's not published yet. So I just want to clarify that so we're clear what are we actually talking about.
Yeah, and so even though you know I hate pre-orders and or like I'm not a big supporter, this point might surprise you. Headline topic. No, your head will explode when you hear that there are actually instances where it's not terrible idea to pre-order, when I would actually approve. You think that there's something like that? Would you?
That's hard to say. I think one criteria is when the publisher or the game developer has a good reputation.
Exactly. That's one of the points where it is definitely... I mean, I would say that it's absolutely okay to pre-order if someone has a great track record or reputation.
Yeah. It's somewhat okay. Like that's why I think a lot of people pre-ordered, for example, the Cyberpunk, even though it came out in the terrible state. It was because CD Projekt Red still has a really good reputation. Like
Yeah, they had really good track record with their previous games.
Yeah.
And even though, for example, The Witcher 3 has not been as good as it is now. I mean, it was still a great release as far as I'm aware, but it was made much better. And they have a good track record for at least not leaving their product behind, leaving their game behind.
They are fixing their own mess. Unlike someone else. Bethesda. I'm gonna talk about it today, obviously, because big games were released this year.
Yeah, but so okay, yeah, that the good track record is definitely. I wouldn't say it's a point which absolutely approves of anything, but that's one of the the good.
Criteria.
One of the good criteria.
Yeah,
I don't know, it's a red flag and a green flag, or so it's a green.
Yeah,
flag.
That's the thing. Like when we pre-order a game from any company, we don't know. We don't know if it's gonna be good because you don't see behind the what's happening in the studio. Even though, for example, with the Starfield, a lot of people got the game way before everyone else, even before the pre-orders. Yeah, so there was a lot of footage outside, so you could kind of see how the game might look like. I mean, 2 weeks. 2 weeks is still, or week? Was it a week or 2 weeks?
Week was the year.
Week. There still can a lot of happen. One fix could break everything in the game. So, but you don't know. So you basically buying. How we say in Czech, rabbit in a bag.
Yeah.
So you don't know what's gonna happen.
That's the risk. That's a good point to say that there will always be this risk. Yeah. Probably in every release, you might never know what you are buying, especially if you're buying it if you are paying for it before you even get it. Because the thing why I am against pre-orders is that big publishers, they abuse this quite a lot. For example, the new garbage 2024 or whatever, FIFA or something, EA Sports FC.
Well, it's still FIFA. It's gonna be the last FIFA because they lost the license for FIFA.
Yeah. So the games like that it comes every year. It's the low effort release mostly, I would say, from what I know. From the late years, and they offer pre-orders sometimes with a extra fee for I don't know, extra DLC or whatever. Can you even get DLC for a game, or for the free-to-play crap that the Ultimate Team
they
or whatever,
the in-game currency or something like that.
Something like that, exactly. And they abuse this because they, especially EA has a bad track record.
Yeah.
They take your money and so you basically pay them for the development, and once the game is out, they stop caring.
Yeah, exactly, because FIFA made billions in revenue.
I'm looking at you. Don't buy it.
Yeah, don't buy FIFA or anything that's EA Sports. That's just. I don't know how NHL is standing because I haven't played that game in a long time, but I know a lot about Madden is the American football as the trashiest game they release. Every year is the same, and somehow every year is worse and worse.
Yeah, and it's
I recommend to look at that AngryJoe's videos about it. He has for every year he has an hour long rant on every year's game, and every time he's saying something different. But but it's so funny about just a little sidetrack about FIFA and EA. They, FIFA itself is a trashy company. They don't care about the game. They only care about the revenue, and they have really bad reputation.
Just to clarify, Michal means FIFA, the organization that organizes the actual football.
Yeah.
The actual sports.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So that's already a trashy company, and that you have another trashy company, EA, and
so it's a partnership predestined.
But I it's so funny to me because trashy company revokes license for another trashy company. It's so funny. Imagine to screw up so bad that the other bad guys say, no, I don't want to work with you anymore.
Like, honestly, I think there might be money involved. But
I don't know what it is.
yeah,
I don't know.
I have no idea. I don't really follow
Yeah,
this
it was just a
topic.
little sidetrack.
Yeah, but it's never a bad time to bash about EA and FIFA. So
yeah, exactly.
yeah, so they kind of abuse this quite a lot, and they even have the audacity to offer pre-orders for a game that is exactly the same as last year.
Yeah.
For example,
Demanded.
I don't know which release it was of FIFA actually on Switch. It was the literally Control-C, Control-V, like copy-paste of the previous year release for the same full price.
Yeah.
The pre-orders active and everything. And they had the audacity to do that, and I like how I think Nintendo Live reacted that they copy-pasted their review for previous year but reduced the score. I totally love that. You guys are legends for doing this.
That's really good. That's really good. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the big publishers. That's always, I would say, big publishers, big publisher like the size of EA and Ubisoft and stuff. That's always a red flag.
Yeah.
Because the bigger the company, the less chance they will actually care about finishing the game. There may be some like special cases in which they still care and they will still complete the game after, or like provide support for the game after the release. Yeah. There have been cases and will be, but usually honestly, when it's bad publisher, it's usually a red flag.
Yeah.
And it's a even more red flag when it's I call it a checkbox release, checkbox release. When it's the game that's created to check all the boxes like, it's open world and it has this feature and, this is popular, so let's give that. And this is in the trade, let's give that. Okay, we have a game which has no soul and no heart. So that's a major red flag.
As one of my favorite YouTubers says, modern gaming. Go check out Act Man.
Yeah, so that's red flag. And another, which is I would say in vast majority of cases, is a no-go if it's a digital pre-order.
Oh yeah.
Because do you want to tell a secret? They will never run out of digital copies.
Yeah, exactly. That's
so
true.
There's no reason for you to pre-order. You can actually wait for the game's release. You will still be able to secure your copy. If you see the reviews are good, you will still be able to get it. I mean, if you wait for like 10, 20 years, maybe you will not be able to get it because, law is, sometimes there are like the licenses and stuff.
Yeah. Only one thing I would maybe be okay with. It's something that Larian Studios did with Baldurs Gate, because there's no physical copies of Baldurs Gate 3. What they did though, and I think that was really clever, I mean, it sounded very, very, how to say it? It sounded very sketchy at first, because year before the game released, they released early access and just gave first few hours of the game. I mean, first act of the game, which could be how long you want, however you, because there's so much stuff. It's a really huge game. So they gave players the early access. They were kept updating it, and they kept players in the picture and updating it and updating the players about what's coming, what's gonna get fixed, and then they didn't have to. They made tons of money out of the early access, and look at it now. It came out and it broke records. You know how much cutscene the whole game has, and I'm talking every cutscene, not in one playthrough. Every cutscene. You know how many hours is that?
If you wouldn't ask, if you would say, do you know? If you would just ask how many hours, I would say yes. But now I can't, because I don't know how many hours, but I would guess it's a lot.
175 hours of cutscenes.
That's quite a length.
Yeah, and it's breaking records
on Steam
and everywhere because
it's a finished and good release.
Yeah, it's a great game. I mean, there's no perfect game. Obviously, we said that multiple times.
But it's a great game.
But it's huge. It's massive, and actually, a lot of developers are a bit scared because now. Larian Studios took the
bar
very high, and now developers are like, panic. What are we gonna do?
I like the PR response is like, you should not expect that. It's totally unrealistic to release a game. You could say everyone with a brain is like.
It's not about the state of the game. It's about the scope of the game. How
and the
massive
quality.
it is. How massive? No. It's not about the quality. It's how massive it is. It's not really about the quality.
Well, that too.
That's part of it, but it's major.
The thing is like
scope of it.
I think it's more like about the combination because you have the quality, you have the massive scope, you have you have like all the good stuff that you want from a game basically in this game.
Larian Studios have a lot of experience with their Divinity series. They did a really good job, and for Wizard of the Coast when Wizard of the Coast gave a license to Baldurs Gate 3 to Larian Studios, that was like a sent dream, I bet, to Larian Studios, and because if you don't know, Baldur's Gate 3 is even the previous titles are based on Dungeons and Dragons with everything. So Larian Studio had a massive task ahead of them, and they executed it perfectly with pre-release of early access all the way up to the release, and still they're hot fixing the game. They're still fixing stuff. So
so this kind of leads to one of the points, the green flags, and that's when you can not just play the game early, not just a week but more, but also can be involved in the development. Another example is a game I mentioned in our very first episode, the Satisfactory, because the game is in early access, so it's kind of a pre-order. It's still in early access. They are aiming for the version 1.0, what's still in early access, but actually they react to feedback. You kind of you bought the game before it's finished, before it's released, before it has all the features, and before some updates, the performance wasn't exactly amazing. In the early versions, but they reacted to the players. Someone said, "Hey, it would be nice if you would have pipes." So they realized they can do that, and they did the amazing fluid system in the game. And that is exactly several other examples. I think Dead Cells and some other games. Usually, I have to say, it's usually the smaller to mid-sized studios.
Or indie studios.
These are usually the best because it kind of goes with another point I have for the green flags. It's way to support indie developers. Because indie developers, they don't have massive budgets. They don't have massive bank accounts. And let's face it, the game development is expensive because you have to pay all the people, you have to have the gear. If you're making a game, for example, consoles and some high-end computers, you have to have all the gear. You have to have the development kits, and if it's massive game, you need to have a lot of testers with the testing hardware of the development kits and stuff. So it's expensive. I would say the manpower is the most expensive.
Let's talk about a little bit about. Now I forgot the name of the freaking game.
Well, I will just keep going. You try to remember.
I'll try to remember. Sorry.
The making of a game is expensive. And if you're an indie studio, usually it's like some people left from a big publisher or their old and boring job and started making a game, something they had a passion for. And if they don't have the money, the pre-orders and these early accesses especially are a great way to support them, because usually in these indie studios, when you start a studio with like 2 or 5 people, you won't go under that risk unless you had a clear vision what you want to do, unless you have something in mind, some project, some great game. So there's a much higher chance that you will actually get something that's good or as good as they can make it, and at least there's a higher chance it will be something unique, and you will have a good feeling of supporting someone who's trying to do their best.
Yeah, but one maybe a little warning for you: be vigilant about if the devs game is maybe over
ambitious.
Oh
yes.
Yeah. I finally remember the game I wanted to talk about. It's No Man's Sky. Like that game was massive, and it is massive, and it was just few devs working on it. I think at the start it was just 2 people, right? Something like that.
No, I think it was Hello Games. I think it was bigger at the...
Okay.
By the way, fun fact, sorry. If you are more into No Man's Sky, go watch the Internet Historian's video. He did a nice summary about the whole thing.
Good. Yeah, I love Internet Historian. He's great. So, they were very ambitious with their game. They promised a lot, and it came out, and it was nothing like they said. And it was really, it became an example of what not to do.
But it also became an example of what to do after a failed release.
Exactly,
Because today, No Man's Sky today is the game they promised and so much more.
Yeah. It's like, it got better over the years, obviously. But like, just be careful with like...
Yeah, even in the project,
is the project over ambitious? Like, are you? And also, there's a lot of scams too.
That's true.
So,
but it's not guaranteed the game will be good. We're just saying that if it's indie studio, there's a higher chance it will be. But yes, it's very good to do some, background check before you commit to them. It's also, for example, if you want to support them this way, pre-order on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, other crowdfunding platforms. There's a good sanity check. Is it all just words, or have they actually done some work already? Because if they want to do something, they will probably start working before they go the campaign. It's also how good are their plans, because if they have no plans, it's just campaign. I want to make a space sim game. Well, good luck to you, but you will probably not get my money. But if you go, I want to make a great space sim games, it will look like this, and I will start small with 1 planet and 1 ship, and then we'll expand from that. And that's like, okay, this sounds like much more reasonable plans. You have high ambition, which is not a bad thing, but your feet are on the ground.
Yeah, the good roadmap is definitely a green flag for an indie developer or someone who's like on a crowdfunding campaign or something. Okay. They have a good roadmap. They know what they want, and if they're usually when their ambition is too big, just be careful.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Like, big ambition for a small studio don't always go together. And I mean, like, big ambition, we can take a look at examples like Star Citizen, right? They crowdfunded like $600 million already or something like a huge amount of money, and the game is still not out because it's very, very ambitious. I mean, I think it's in early access or something. People can play it.
It's
huge. And from what I know, there are people that are actually into it and loving it already. Good for you guys. Yeah. But it's an example that huge ambition is a red flag. Yeah. Technically. Even though we love huge ambition and we love when games like Baldurs Gate actually fulfill on that great ambition, right?
Yeah, it did.
But
over-delivered.
Yeah. That's another thing that it's like general rule in life: under-promise, over-deliver. And for pre-orders, it goes even better. When the company has a track record of under-promising, over-delivering, then amazing.
Yeah.
Well, another reason when it might be okay to pre-order, I would say, is if it offers some decent extra value. For example, if it's a collector's edition with a nice art book and soundtrack CD and even some, I don't know, collectible figure or something. Because, these releases are of physical goods, even for the big publishers and stuff, maybe very limited. For example, only 1,000 pieces made or something. I mean, yes, they sometimes do it because they want to hype it.
Yeah.
But that's usually with these, when you don't pre-order, you will not get one because they will be sold out before the game is even out.
For example, I know you're gonna maybe disagree with me on that, but PlayStation actually has a really good track record with their main games, because all the games, like name me a PlayStation game from recent years that was really big broken mess, like unplayable mess.
I mean, it depends on when you define unplayable best, but I remember Days Gone has not been very good at release.
Fair enough, yes. But that was like, what, 3-4 years ago?
Yeah, and for example, while we're talking about these, like, the best record maybe goes to Nintendo, Like, they... name a game that...
Pokemon?
That's Pokemon Company.
I thought it's under Nintendo.
Yeah, well, they own part of the company, but...
Okay, fair enough.
And they do exclusive releases, but it's not like... But yeah, I agree. Pokemon, like, they need to take a break. They should stop release game every year.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's quite obvious. No, but like still...
I'm saying,
these
PlayStation, Nintendo, great track record in the game. Like,
pretty decent track record.
Their collector's editions are beautiful, and they also make these extra one. Like you have the collector's edition, and then you have, like, for example, for the God of War Ragnarok, they made a Jotnar edition, which was a little bit more expensive, but it had more stuff. And it had, for example, the art book and other stuff. But the collector's edition, for example, has the Thor's hammer or a set of dice.
Yeah, that sometimes do, as I mentioned, the figures or I gotta say, I really love when there's art book in the collector's edition. Yeah. That's actually one of the reasons I got the Xenoblade Chronicles definitive edition and the collector's edition, because they have a really nice art book. Yeah. And for example, the first game, the definitive edition, even had a soundtrack on vinyl.
Ooh,
like
nice.
On LP, which is this is the extra value.
Yeah, I saw that in the games. A lot of games are doing that. They put the soundtrack on vinyl because CD is kind of obsolete now.
No, the thing is, like, it's not just that, or like.
I mean, who has a CD player these days?
I mean, not exactly CD player. I have a USB drive, and like a lot of my. Actually, some of my consoles, I think, only play CDs.
Really? Oh yeah, I guess the old ones. Yeah. but it's funny because they get you the vinyl. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah. The LP.
The LP, the LP. And I don't have a gramophone. What am I gonna play it on? Yeah, it's just fine. It's
nice. for the
just put
enthusiasts.
It on the wall. Yeah, put it on the wall.
I mean, yes, sure, because they usually look really nice. The art on the LPs is. Yeah. And also, it's for like the enthusiasts, because when you're paying that much for a game like this, usually twice as much or even more than the base game.
Yeah.
But you really want something extra. That's rare.
Yeah. And I think that's having a collector's edition or anything like that can somewhat justify a pre-order, but the game has to come out good.
Yeah, okay? I think for the collector's edition, it's regarding whether you are up for the risk that you really want to get the extra stuff.
Yeah,
because I gotta say, one point for that also is that if you get the extra stuff in the collector's edition, it sometimes might even be worth just for the stuff for some people. Even if the game is not that great, if it's like part of a great series, long-running series, and you get the very limited figurine, or I don't know, all the other stuff that can get into collector's edition. Like that's you're not buying just a game, you're buying a physical goods.
Yeah, exactly.
Usually.
I love physical copies, honestly. Like, I prefer to have physical copy over just digital.
Yes.
I mean, I'm pretty sad that Baldur's Gate doesn't have a physical copy. That's kind of sad.
Also, that Alan Wake 2 will probably not have a physical copy.
Well, I mean, usually PlayStation or Xbox have physical copies.
And Nintendo too. Like
And
the
Nintendo
console
too.
manufacturers.
Yeah, the console.
They do physical copies.
Which I'm glad for. But yeah, I'm going to get Baldur's Gate 3 on PC because I don't want to play it on PlayStation.
Yeah. Well, yeah, about
maybe I'll just buy the PlayStation copy just to have it. just to have a Baldur's Gate copy. And I'll buy a steelbook later somewhere.
Yeah, about the physical copies, that's also one of the points which can be a green flag if it's similar to collector's edition, limited release. We have companies like Super Rare Games that manufacture physical copies for mostly indie games, I think, or like as far as I'm aware, that usually do very limited run. And that's one of the reasons why it might be good to pre-order, because if it's very limited release for some niche game that you really like, then it might be the only way you will be able to secure your copy, because it will sell out very fast.
Well, that's for physical copies, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Once again, physical copies. That's as with digital copies, you can make infinite amount of digital copies, just copy paste. But with the physical copies, it's much harder, and a lot of games have only a limited amount of copies made, especially with those like rarer releases.
Okay, let's dive into this question. When is it okay for digital pre-order?
I don't think so.
That's a good question, huh?
No, I think digital pre-order is, as we mentioned earlier, with the early access / indie games, when you get involved in the process, as we said, when you get the game early, and when you support indie developer, especially one that you like.
I think, like, somewhat, for example, Hogwarts Legacy. I got as a present the pre-order, the deluxe edition of Hogwarts Legacy, and that came with some extra stuff in the game, like, for example, the dark arts arena, some clothes, for example, and wands and stuff like that.
But it's not because of the pre-order. It's because it's the digital deluxe edition or something.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can still buy it anyway.
Oh, I see.
So that's the thing, you know, like, yeah, I think this is kind of a thing of the past where, like, I don't think many developers do it. I remember in the recent memory a few years back, indie developer Ghost Town Games, Overcooked 2, when they released it, there was like a free extra Chef's DLC for like, I don't know, it was some change, basically the price, but you got it free with the pre-order. And you could later buy it, but I think that's more on the rare side.
Yeah. So if it comes like with extra content, not just clothes, but like DLC or something, then it's justifiable to have a pre-order.
Yeah, but I would hesitate very much even in this case. Like as I said, if it's indie developer that, especially one with good record that you like. Yeah. The digital pre-order can be totally fine. Like, I'm one of the people that bought Satisfactory. I'm very happy with my purchase.
Yeah.
But that's early access. I could play the game the moment I bought it.
Yeah. So early access is one, again, could justify pre-order if they actually release the game later. Like, a lot of survival games these days count on early access. A lot of games still didn't come out.
So I think the good point about early access is let's go into that too. Then I wouldn't go into early access from a big publisher because once again it's usually just an excuse. And as Michal said, many, especially big companies, don't often go away from the early access. They never finish the game. And there's a difference. Like, I wouldn't be afraid of the game not being like finished if there's still work done on it.
Yeah.
Like if it's in early access for 5 years, but they still work on the game, that's fun. That's fine by me if the game is good actually, and the updates are good. It's like, sure.
Okay. I would justify only if the updates are frequent, and that it's not like once a year. There's
if it's once a year and it's a really good update, that's
okay.
Still...
If massive, if it's big, I would understand that, but otherwise,
basically, if the size of the updates correlates nicely with the frequency. That's what you're trying to say.
Yeah, exactly.
Either a lot of updates, or if they're not that frequent, then they should be big.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like for example, the Baldurs Gate again. Like that game had updates frequently, and players knew that the game is coming out, and they were given a release date. So, but a lot of those games who are in early access, they don't have a release date. Like if the game is coming out as a early access in pre-alpha, run away.
I mean,
seriously, because there is nothing.
Right. Yeah. You mean pre-alpha. Sorry.
Pre-alpha is nothing. That's just a rough.
Yeah, that's kind of like almost a concept or like prototype.
Exactly. Yeah. This is almost like a tech demo.
Yeah.
Very, very bad tech demo. But so run away from that. If the game is like really in pre-alpha, run away. For example, the Valheim is in early access, but it's not
a good game.
It's a good game, and it didn't come out as a pre-alpha. Like early access, I feel like early access should come at least as alpha. Maybe better.
I guess it depends how you take the terminology, but yes, it should came as a something that's actually playable and playable. Good, and it has some value. It's not just like you can move around. Okay, awesome. What do I do?
Yeah.
But as for the release date, you don't necessarily need to do it. It also comes down to the developer communication.
Yeah.
Once again, Abelteka Satisfactory, why I trust them, because they not just do updates, but when they don't do updates, for example, right now we're waiting quite some time for update 8, but they do a lot of developer updates. They say, okay, we're migrating to Unreal 5, and it has challenges, we have stability issues, and it's complicated. But they also release on the experimental branch, which is like early access of the early access,
Okay.
They release some stable versions of the game.
Okay.
So you can still at least get your hands on some version of what they're working on. But
I see.
I would say the key is the communication. If the developer doesn't release update for 1 year, for example, in their early access, but keeps making videos. Hey, we are having these issues. We are struggling with this, or we're coming to that. You don't necessarily need to. It's kind of a game of trust, I would say. Like if they're trustworthy, if they try to earn your trust. It is viable.
Just look at their track record. Like if it's not their first game out, just look how their communication was in previous titles. If it's their first game, I would be very hesitant, like to jump into the early access. If that would be their first game, unless they would really communicate well at the start. Like, hey, this is our roadmap. This is where you can find all the updates. This is how we can communicate with you. This is how you can contact us, and etc. Like if they give me the scope of what they're doing and how their communication with me will be, I can trust them more. They can break my trust, obviously.
Yeah.
Like, but it's easier to.
This is a green flag if they communicate good.
If you communicate well, no problem.
And I have also one point for when I would even say it's totally fine to pre-order.
Wow.
If the game is already out. Because if the game is already out and you like it and it's a pre-order for the physical release.
Oh, I see.
I mean, that's completely fine by me. I actually did pre-order.
know,
and we
I
mentioned
remember
that for the Metroid Prime Remaster because the physical release came like 2 months after the digital. It had stellar reviews because, I mean, the original game is great, and if you do the remaster good, then it will still be great. Yeah. And it is. So I went for the pre-order of the physical release because I knew they will not be, at least at the launch, there will not be as many copies available.
This doesn't happen that often, though, because that was first time I heard it with this, was Metroid, right? Metroid Prime Remaster. That was the first time I heard about pre-ordering game that's already out. That's the first time I heard about it. Let us know in the comments if you know about any other games.
I would say there will be.
If Larian Studios decides to do a physical copy on PC, I'm gonna go for it.
Exactly what I wanted to say. If they decide to if they decide to publish a physical copy for that would be a prime example.
Yeah, even if it would just be the case with just code of the game in it. Like, I don't freaking care.
That's debate for another day. Code in a box. It's I would say that's a really deep topic.
Yeah,
we should definitely dive to that in the future, maybe.
Yeah.
So let us know in the comments if you think we should and if you have any points about that too.
Yeah, or anything we just talked about. Just tell us we're wrong. We're totally wrong, and you should totally
or
pre-order
that we're
games.
right.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe we're totally wrong, and you should actually pre-order games.
I still don't think so.
No, please don't.
Because that the thing about pre-orders, like why is it bad? Not just that you get, but for the industry as a whole. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to make this episode. Because if you... let's take a look at EA and the FIFA series. Like it's a game played by masses. The people that are not even gamers very often, they just play this.
Casual gamers.
Yeah, they play it because they like football. Yeah. So they buy the game. And they even pre-ordered because it will have this new player or something. I don't know.
Well, you get like some
but
currency or something.
If people pre-order this, it sets a precedent.
Yeah.
Like, hey, people will pay us for this game anyway. Yeah. So we don't really have to do much effort. And it's for publishers. They want to... big companies, they want to make as much money for as little effort as possible.
Exactly.
So if you pre-order these games and pay the full price, like the $70 now or 70 euros, that's insane. They make a whole bunch of money and they just lower and lower and lower their efforts.
Let me tell you something. You might already know. It is rather well-known fact, but for those who don't know, pre-orders. That's where the publishers and the companies makes the most money. Not because like tons of people buy it, not because of that, but because they can up the price a little bit. Because they give you something that the people who will buy it later on will not get. Like, for example, game currency, for example, or some clothes or whatever. Yeah, so they will give you this collector's not collector's even edition, some deluxe edition of the game,
or like some extra pre-order bonus even, not deluxe edition, just a few little bonuses.
Yeah, but that's when they get the most money. And then what's happening? There's a massive team working on it to make it in a short time,
crunching like crazy
as possible. So the company doesn't have to pay them that much as like, for example, normal big game.
I mean, I would just to make a point. It depends because, for example, here in Europe we have I would say much better employment laws than, for example, in the US, where for overtime you actually in many countries in Europe you have to be paid.
Yeah. Okay, but that's beside the point.
Yeah.
But so they don't have to pay them as much, so they can save some money. release a half-baked game, people will buy it because,
I mean, not people buy it, people already bought it. And
yeah,
that's
so
the thing.
the people already bought, people buy the pre-order. That's what I'm trying to say. People will buy the pre-order. They make a ton of money, and then that massive team will just move to the next year.
To the next release.
Or the next project or whatever it is. And they keep relatively small team on the project to fix all the bugs.
Yeah, just for the hot fixes and stuff.
Yeah, just the hot fixes. And sometimes like those people they're not that long there.
Yeah, because if you crunch like crazy, that calls for burnout.
Yeah.
Actually, it has been happening even 20 years ago. I recommend a good video, The Two Sides of the Tomb Raider. I don't remember the channel's name, actually, sorry. But it's a great video about Tomb Raider, the franchise, and how actually they were forced by the publisher to crunch, and they would only get money after the game was out, after some percentage from the earnings, and the people were burnt out, a lot of them.
I mean, the Naughty Dog is infamous for that because they crunch the people to the last drop of sweat. Yeah, their games looks amazing. Last of Us Part 2 is very questionable. It's very, what's the word? Controversial, but it looks amazing. Let's be honest. Everything from the graphics all the way to the sound design and voice acting, superb. I will give them that. The writing is, but everything else, physics and etc., amazing. But there's people who crunch on this. Hours and hours. So what I'm trying to say, well,
yeah, the pre-orders support the crunch culture.
Yeah, exactly,
somewhat.
exactly. Because we need to release it. We need to give something to people who pre-ordered, so they can play it before others. So we have to release it in some kind of a state, and so the last month is just hell. It's just hell for all the devs who are in these companies.
Yeah, and another thing, that pre-orders are kind of one of the reasons. I wouldn't like to say it's the only reason, but it's part of the reason what's wrong with the gaming industry. Because if you want people to buy the pre-orders to finance your development, you usually announce the game way too early, and that's where the problems of the crunch come out.
That's
because
so true.
You announce the game 2 years ahead or 1 year. Even 1 year can sometimes be way too much. Take a look, for example, at Nintendo. Why they're so successful with their balance of hype and the quality of releases? Because most of the games that are not set in stone, or we know there will be a new Mario release every few years, and some Mario spin-offs every now and then, and there will be a Zelda probably every couple of years. But they try not to announce. You can see they're trying not to announce the games way too early. I mean, they did some with Metroid Prime 4, which had to restart the development, but other games were not announced very far ahead, which gives the team all the time they need to work on the game in peace. So they can announce the game once it's almost done, or they're in the polishing phase.
Yeah, I think that was one of the main problem of Cyberpunk. They announced it years,
way too early.
4 or 5 years.
No, I think it was 10 years the initial announcement or something.
Was it?
Yeah, we can. I'll actually Google it now, but keep talking.
Because they announced it way too early. So the hype built up. Because, Witcher was awesome.
Cyberpunk 2077 was first announced in May 2012.
Wait, 2012?
The very, very first teaser trailer.
Oh my God, that's so bad. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? That's ridiculous. I mean, they announced Witcher games again. So, why do you do that? That's a bad marketing in general.
I mean, that's another thing, and it's not really the scope of this episode, I would say.
Yeah.
But it's, sometimes it might be worth mentioning at least the direction of what you're working on. But
yeah.
well, let's not dive too much into that. But yeah, it's like you for the pre-orders, you usually want to announce things in advance so that people get hyped for it, and they give you cash for the pre-orders.
Yeah, I would say like year before the release. It's.
I mean, like the industry is coming around it. I gotta say, I have to give kudos for Microsoft. I mean, they have not been in a good place in the past years, but I really like to see them going the upwards way, because Phil Spencer in an interview announced that he really likes to show the gameplay, the actual gameplay in their showcases, and B, he said that he once again wants to show the game if it's not further than a year from release. I mean, with things are like Starfield, it had to be postponed. But like, I gotta say, this kind of approach is actually it's good if you at least try.
Well, let's say if they will keep it.
Yeah, we'll see. But I really like when someone in the industry is going in the upwards way.
I mean, Sony has been pretty good with it. Like, God of War was announced on the consoles. 2016's. Yeah, God of War was announced 2016, and 2 years later the game came out. And they didn't. And on 2016 they showed the gameplay.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's what they did. They showed the trailer and they went straight to the gameplay. A year later they showed more and everything. So, but in that's. I think
we could figure out many examples like this.
I think
actually,
Sony is doing really well with their major games, with their like the PlayStation Studios games.
I wouldn't say they always do great with their PC releases, which it's great they are doing the PC releases, but there are still some.
For studios, which focus mainly on the console games. They have to outsource these kind of work to other companies, and we saw how it looked like with The Last of Us Part 2 on PC. So, yikes.
No, I mean, like, I just I want to say, like, that's the PC releases for some companies also are problematic.
We talked about this. Like the hardware for the consoles is already set. You always know what you're getting. On a PC, you never know. Everyone has a different PC. Everyone has a different specs.
Different combination of the hardware.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we should we're going outside of the scope, so maybe we should kind of summarize, or if we have any last words about pre-orders.
I think I sum it up like, why don't usually pre-order games? Because that's when the publisher gets more revenue, and every time they get revenue, they think, oh, this works. People still buying it. Let's do the same crappy game next year, and look where it got us. But the thing is, the normal people who buy the casual gamers who play the FIFA, who play these quote-unquote generic games, they don't care about that. You know, they will still buy the freaking games.
Yeah.
Even though that the publisher or the devs, well, mainly the publisher, just laughing at them. Like, look at those stupid people pre-ordering this crappy game. Hey, we made billions of dollars out of this.
Yeah.
So think about it. Just like, are you really satisfied with what you're getting?
Do you really need to get it that much early? Because for some games, they can be in discount very shortly after the release because the release is not that good.
Yeah, exactly.
Remember stuff like Anthem. I mean, I don't want to bash on BioWare because from what we know that this came from EA management.
Yeah.
But once again, the game... I feel very sorry for everyone who paid full price for the pre-order and later could have got it for free with the analog caps for their controller.
Yeah,
if you remember.
Anthem hurts seriously because the game has amazing potential, but just.
Yeah, everyone says the core is good, but why don't you let me do what is good instead of the other cap?
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, for the pre-orders, I would like to say a rule of thumb, kind of. If you're really not sure whether you should pre-order, you rather shouldn't.
Yeah.
That's kind of the easy thing
true.
to say. If you're not sure, like the collector's edition is worth it to you because you like the series. If you're not sure you want to support the indie developer, if you're not sure you want this limited release, then don't do it. I mean, it's easy. As we said, they will never run out of digital copies. So if you buy the game while it's like active or in its prime, year or two after release, there probably won't be a problem with licenses that early on. Games. There are even games like 10 years, and they can still be purchasable.
Yeah.
But not always. There may be issues with license. But if you buy it in the first few years of the game, usually it will be fine, and you will still be able to secure your digital copy, or sometimes even buy a second-hand physical release.
Yeah, exactly.
If you really missed it and stuff. So there's no need to rush, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Everything moves too fast, but just don't have to. Another thing, if you want to play some games early, but you don't want to pre-order, there's one great thing, and that is Game Pass.
Oh, Game Pass.
Because actually, I wouldn't play some of games that released day one on Game Pass, but since they were in Game Pass and I already have it because it's a great value for me, then you can play some of these games early without supporting some of it. I mean, like, there's other questions in the Game Pass which we should not delve into today.
I have few things to say about it.
Yeah, it's like we should make an episode about everything as a service. Let us know what you think about that.
Yeah. We should actually. That's a really good episode.
Yeah, but
that would be
like these services that have these games on day one might sometimes offer better value than a pre-order, because if it offers some other value outside of the day one releases, then amazing. For example, fun fact, I recently played some indie games on the Game Pass, like the Short Hike. I was eyeing that out for some time, and with the Game Pass, I finally played it. And Game Pass has value not just for major releases, but indie games. So
cool.
That's a value it can offer. Extra value, you know?
Yeah. That's true.
So if you're not sure, don't.
Yeah.
But if it has value for you, then it might be worth it, actually.
Yeah. Just don't jump on every pre-order of your favorite game.
Exactly.
Like, just
be very careful around with publishers.
Yeah. General rule: don't do it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Don't do it, please. Help us save the industry.
Again, like, it's about just sending the big publishers and the shareholders and the businessmen a message. Hey, we're dissatisfied. We are actually quite angry about the state of our games. We're paying you, like, the games are getting more and more expensive, even if you buy it after release. Like, freaking like, it used to be like what, like $60 or €60. So now it can be like 70-80 euros.
There are actually some rumors that like GTA 6 will release for like 120 or something.
Yeah, 150 actually.
No, 150, which is like that's that's actually half the price of a Switch, or even more than half price of a whole console.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. That's a lot of money for a game. No matter how big it is. Yeah, so just let's send the devs, not the devs, the publishers and the shareholders message. Hey, we don't like this.
Yeah, if we pre-order games, this will not change. So if we stop pre-ordering games, I think we had it on the bar on the bottom in some of the previous episodes about the pre-ordering.
I'm pretty sure it's out already, been many times already. It's probably permanently there.
Vote with your wallet.
Yeah.
You know, like that's the only thing the publishers and especially the publicly traded companies that make games, that's the only thing they will understand. If they don't get your money before the game is good, then they will release the game that is not good. And it's a shame, because there is a lot of talent in the studios. There is a lot of great ideas and a great amount of details in some of the games. They are just not allowed to be finished by the publisher.
That's why Baldur's Gate is a good standard because it came out well. It came out, on time. It wasn't delayed at all. And it came out in a good state. And the devs are still fixing it, creating hotfixes. I think there have been like 5 hotfixes since the game came out, which is nuts. Honestly, that's crazy. 5 hotfixes during like a month of devs, since the game went out.
I mean, like
that's nuts.
That's a question also for another day with this, but yeah, you get the idea, and I think you are able to come up with a more great example of this, the stuff we should actually support because they do good work. They do well in the industry and they do well by us, the gamers.
Yeah.
And so we should support it. So if you have any other example of games and success stories like this that they did, for example, the early access right, or they did the game release right, they'll leave us a comment. We would love to know which games you think did great.
More games should be like Baldur's Gate, or for example, God of War, or The Witcher.
Or Tears of the Kingdom.
Or Tears of the Kingdom, exactly. There are games that made it, that actually are good, that came in a good state, and it shows that if there's a will, it can be done.
Definitely.
But we need to show the publishers that we need these kind of games. And actually, I am more inclined to buy a game that's in a good state than a trashy, crappy, buggy game that costs 60 euros, rather than, and I'll buy a game for 60 euros that is good, that came in a good state, and I know that the devs are doing a great job.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's really nice summary. It's up to us. You should probably not pre-order, and great games are great.
Yeah, let us know in the comments if you maybe had a bad or good experience with pre-ordering games.
Yeah.
I know it's in majority it's gonna be bad because
but maybe there will be some good. We'll see.
Yeah, I hope there's gonna be some.
Or
good.
even let us know if you participate or like bought some game in early access and had some bad and great experience.
That's what I meant.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning us today. We hope you will give a like to this video or on this episode on the major podcasting platforms, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, to our show, and follow us on our social media. We are on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah.
We thank you once again so much, and we hope to see you in the next one.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Afterword Gamers are Michal Jarásek and Matouš Planianský. If you enjoyed listening to our rambling, be sure to give us a follow on your favorite platform, and don't forget to rate our podcast. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you can leave a comment about the topics and we will try to answer. Follow us on our social media at Afterword Gamers Cast. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you at the next one, and don't forget, you can always game afterward.